Well, hey guys, thanks for joining me. I am at my grandson's daycare because today is Grandparents' Day. And you see, no gray. I'm feeling like a spry grandparent today. So, of course, I'm waiting for my ex to get here because, he's granddad too. But this reminds me of something. When I first started dating my ex-husband, and he is a country boy, okay? He used to go fishing, and he is still an avid fisherman. So after we've been dating for a couple of weeks, I asked if I could go fishing with him. And he says, sure, if you want to. I said, well, do I need anything? He goes, nope, I got everything. Well, you know what? That was my first clue. When it came to him and we were going to do something I was unfamiliar with, don't ask him, just Google it yourself, because we have different needs. So yes, I went on that first fishing trip with him, and he gave me a hat that he had in the back of his car. That's the only thing he had for me, because that's all he really used. So of course, the second time we went fishing, I made sure I had a chair with one of those little umbrella things over it for shade. I made sure I had a book. I made sure I had a bottle of frozen water. I made sure I had bug spray and a blanket in case I needed it. And so for the rest of the times we went fishing, I carried my own gear, but that is what I needed to have to be okay. Now, 3 years later, our daughter comes along, and I still go fishing with him on occasion. The problem is, not only did I have my gear, but now I got baby gear. And it was starting to become a trudge. And I really and honestly felt like I shouldn't ask him to, carry a bunch of stuff because, I'm the one who's tagging along. So I handled her stuff and my stuff. But once she started getting to the point where she was mobile, at this point, now it's also my job to make sure she doesn't fall in the water. It was at that point that I quit fishing. But one of the things I really loved about it before it became an ordeal was just being in front of the water, which is why whenever you all saw me camping, I was always in front of water. And all of that brings me to the premise of the video. What happens when you are a YouTube family that likes to do outdoor adventures? How do you handle it once you become a family with kids? Let's talk about that.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day.
How do you handle that? Because one of my favorite channels started out with just him, and then he introduced us to her, and then they got married, then they had a kid, then they had a second kid. And so now when they do their adventures, the kids are involved. But it has left me feeling a certain kind of way because it just doesn't feel safe to me. So let me tell you and show you some clips of some of the things I'm talking about. Because you know what? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm looking at it too seriously, but it just feels irresponsible.
Well, it's just I'm panicking because the baby is crying, okay? So the faster we get things done, the faster Wesley stops crying.
Babies cry, Wherever you are, babies are going to cry.
Yeah, and usually you stop and you comfort them and not just leave them scream crying so you can film a bunch of shit.
So, one of my favorite YouTube families that are adventurers, and I don't want to say the name because I don't want to, send any negativity their way. I have been watching this channel for like 6 years. It started out with him and his brother doing bushcraft and canoeing and fishing. And so I loved watching them. And then they went on the show alone and they won season. I don't remember, so I'll put it here. But they won. Then he introduced us to his girlfriend, whom I hated because she was cute, she was perky, she was mixed race, she had this beautiful wild wavy hair, she had a little nose ring, and just watching her try to keep up with him was a hoot. Now, she was outdoorsy. She was about as outdoorsy as I have been before the arthritis. But, you know, being outdoorsy and being an adventurer are two different things. So girlfriend really needed to step up her game. I actually had to start really liking her, you know. Then, you know, COVID hit. And so it turns out they had a baby, but they didn't tell us. I mean, they showed us the baby, but you could tell something wasn't quite right. But they never mentioned anything. And then about 9 months later, they finally told us that their son had a neurological disease. And he would never...
Hey? Are you in a happy mood? Are you cute?
And he would never be able to walk or even care for himself, which was really sad. But they still did adventures.
And my wife Tori and I headed out for the backcountry on foot. We brought our 18-month-old son Wesley along for his first winter camping trip. Our route took us along frozen lakes and up and down steep hills through the bush on connecting trails.
At first they did like truck adventures where they would drive somewhere and stay somewhere remote and set up a tent and stuff like that. And I thought, damn girl, that's a lot of work with a child who's disabled. You got my respect.
There have been a couple comments on YouTube about, you know, bringing Wesley out here with us and stuff like that. But, you know, Jim and I are well prepared and we have everything we need. We're not super far away from help. And also his pediatrician and his family doctor are both very well aware of the things we do and with Wesley and where we take him and the trips that we go on. They actually think it's really good for him.
But then they started doing canoe trips again. And so that's when it started to bother me a little bit, because now they're putting this child in a bassinet in a canoe. Okay? Yes, he had a life jacket on, but that was a lot.
It's out warm enough though. Hopefully the rain holds off. I'm thinking it's going to be a really awesome day on the river.
Who's happy? Hey bud. Ready to go on a canoe trip again? We're paddling today. Paddle, paddle, paddle.
Then they had another child. Now the oldest child is probably about 6, maybe 7. And the youngest child is 3, and he is a busy bee. I mean, he is bouncing all over the place. So now girlfriend is dealing with a child that cannot take care of himself, cannot save himself, and a 3-year-old who's bouncing off the walls. In the meantime, her husband has got to film, so she needs to handle all of the everything else. And her whole personality has changed. She is no longer bubbly and just adorable and you know, dropping the F-bomb every once in a while when they're getting some rapids and he's yelling at her and she's going, don't yell at me, just tell me, left or right, just quit yelling. I mean, all of that is gone. She is now basically a brick. There is just never any emotion on her face. There's never any animation in her body. I mean, even her body shape has changed from being, quite frankly, you know, kind of sexy to just a stone wall. But what really bothers me is the fact that their child has these issues and they're in canoes and they go to remote places. Now, they just finished an adventure, which they haven't shown us yet, but they did make a separate video and told us that at the end of that trip, they had a problem and the child with the neurological problems had 7 seizures.
Scary moment on our final day. I don't know if you want to explain that, Tor.
Sure. So, unfortunately, on our last day, the same day that we were planning on getting to our pickup point, Wesley ended up having a few pretty scary seizures.
Now she said he hadn't had any seizures in 3 years, and this child takes seizure medicine 3 times a day, and he will have to do that for the rest of his life. But he had 7 seizures, and then he had one that lasted 5 minutes. And fortunately, they were in a place that had cell service, but it took hours for the emergency services to reach them.
Thankfully, we came across a boat launch, and we decided that we should pull over and call for help, basically. So while Jim was calling, Wesley had another seizure. This one in particular lasted about 5 minutes or more, so we ended up just calling 911.
Now, they told us when it was all said and done, the pediatrician said, well, that's normal. He's getting bigger. We just need to up his seizure medicine. You know what? That might be true. That might be true. But how bad do you need to go on an adventure with your husband that you are willing to put up with all the work it takes to be gone for 2 weeks with a child that's disabled and a child bouncing off the walls? No wonder she no longer has any emotion. As a matter of fact, when they did that video, that woman looked like she was in a state of shock.
Give him a few doses of his rescue medication, so he was pretty sleepy at that point, but on the advice of the nurse, he was pretty sleepy at that point, and anyway.
At what point do you say, babe, I can't do this with you anymore? And here's the biggest thing that bothers me. The comment section. Everybody saying, oh, you all are such great parents, and it's so good that you're taking your disabled child on the adventures with you so he can have a normal life. And I'm thinking, who the fuck are these people in the comment section? I honestly get the impression that these people are simply there egging them on until disaster strikes. That is what it feels like to me, that they are simply egging them on, and everybody tunes into the videos that the family is on. Now, when he does videos with him by himself or videos with his friends, it's a different audience. But when he does the family videos, it's a different audience. And I can tell because I watch all the videos and I see the difference in the audience reactions and things like that. So who are all these people telling them that what they're doing is great and they're wonderful parents? Who are those people? I think they're all trolls. Because he also does segments at home where everybody's safe and sound that nobody ever watches. I believe that YouTube is so full of trolls that they egg people on to do things that aren't safe, just waiting for something bad to happen. Now, maybe it's just me, but you all tell me what you think. Take care, stay blessed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.